That's some trailer, huh? The movie star Vermillion, it seems. Well, Betty and I came across a real method of getting my message, our message, to you. And that is, I'm going to just speak for a little while. And then I'll pass it over to Betty, who is slightly better than I am at talking right now. That video has eased my soul considerably, because I think it says something about all Parkinson's patients, and not just me. Nobody wants to give up life, whether it's Parkinson's or any other disease. But it brings me home again. And I appreciate the people that did that for us. So, for your support, I thank you. And here's Betty.
Thanks, Larry. So, there are moments in life that are etched in memory in living color. And one of those moments is the moment that you're diagnosed with a serious disease. It took a Yale University neurologist about 20 seconds to figure out that Larry had Parkinson's disease. There were clues. So he had tremor, so his hand kind of shook, and he held his arm in this funny, rigid way. And the entire right side of his body kind of dragged. And we were always big walkers. We used to walk 4 miles a night, and all of a sudden he's tripping over curbs. So there it was, 42 years old, my incredibly handsome, young police captain husband with Parkinson's disease. It was quite a shock. For those of you unfamiliar with Parkinson's disease, it's a progressive degenerative brain disease. And it's caused by the death of dopamine-producing cells in a very deep part of the brain called the substantia nigra. It results in tremor, rigidity, and very slow down movements. The sort of rapid movements that you see in Larry right now is actually a side effect of the medication. It's not the disease itself. And eventually, of course, you lose the ability to move. It affects not just your muscle movements, but also your heart, the speed with which your brain processes information, perception, and many other things. And we're really just beginning to learn a lot about Parkinson's disease. So here we are, newly diagnosed. Now what? Right? So the first thing, of course, everyone does when they're diagnosed with a serious disease is you go through really a period of sadness and mourning. I've talked to so many people who have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and you and your loved ones really kind of take some time to figure out how am I going to live with this? And the real question is not, am I going to die from this disease? The real question is, how do I live with this disease? How do I live well? How do I live a life worth living? So after 20 years, almost 20 years of living with Parkinson's disease, Larry and I have really decided to start telling our story. We never talked about it much before, in part because people kind of feel bad, You say to somebody, I got Parkinson's disease. Oh no, it's kind of a sad moment. But this is not a story about illness and dying. This is really a story about living life. You only die for a moment in time. The rest of your life, you are living. So by the time Larry was diagnosed, we had already kind of reprioritized our lives. He was a police officer. We had decided, well, there had to be an end to that, you know. And so I went back and was working on my PhD. And our whole plan was when I finished my PhD, he would leave the department, normal retirement, and we would go for a professorship somewhere in the US, which is exactly what we did. But first, we kind of did the bucket list. We thought, gee, you know, you never know, right? How long you're going to be able to do all these things that you want to do. So we had a list, and we did it all. We did it all over a period of years. So every summer we would say, gee, you know, we've always wanted to hike Hadrian's Wall, the old Roman wall in the north of England. We did it. We did it. We always wanted to hike in the Olympic Mountains. We took all those gorgeous hikes, Hurricane Ridge, and just absolutely amazing. We hiked the Cornwall coast in the south of England, which is spectacular cliff walking. We hiked the north coast of France, Brittany and Normandy. We had an absolutely fabulous time, and every year we would think, well, you never know, right? I mean, what's going to happen next year? So I think we better do it. And that's what we've done. We've gone wine tasting. We took our kids on a trip eating across Italy one year. You know, we didn't go to any of those monuments or museums. We just ate. That's what we did. So we've taken a lot of time. And I guess that once we kind of started working off that list, we started thinking, well, gee, how can you live well with this disease? What can you do? And we learned a few lessons that I think are helpful for everyone, not just people with serious diseases. We made some attitude adjustments, and we began to realize that happiness is loving the things you have instead of wanting the things you can't have. And we accepted that. We came to terms with that. And so now we wake up every day really thinking about what's possible, not what's impossible. What is it that we can do today in the context of our lives? And so we went about creating a life worth living. One of the first things Larry did when we moved to Vermillion, South Dakota, I mean, here he's been this tough cop, right? His whole career. He gives up his badge, he gives up his gun, he moves to this little town in the Midwest. What's going to happen next? Well, he started baking bread. And initially, he had been baking bread for years. I had given up, right? I mean, at some point, your children tell you, right, like, Mom, your bread's good, but his bread, oh, that's great. So I had hung up my apron. He starts baking bread, and he starts getting invitations from various places. Well, gee, why don't you come here and bake bread? Why don't you come here and bake bread? And finally, the Little Jones Market said, okay, we'll set up Mr. Smith's Bakery. And that's what we did. And now it's Mr. Smith's Bakery Café, a beloved institution in the town of Vermillion. And not only does he make these beautiful handmade artisan breads, but he loves to teach other people how to do it too. And so the Vermillion vegetarians come over at night, and he teaches them to bake bread. And neighbors say, gee, I'd sure like to learn how to make your pizza crust. Oh, come on over, right? So we do a lot of that. Oprah Magazine did an article about Larry a few years ago and said his bread was the best bread in the world. It said, don't go to Paris, don't go to Rome, don't go to London, go to Vermillion, South Dakota for really great bread. So he really created a life for himself, and despite his disability and how difficult it is for him to walk, they adapted his workstation for him. So he's got a grab bar and so forth, and he still goes to work every morning. And he doesn't ask for a ride to go to work. He has this three-wheeled cat trike that you saw, and that's how he gets around town. We found that a life worth living involves friends, lots and lots of friends. We also discovered that you make friends by feeding them. And so we kind of have this dinner club thing that goes on at our house where, lots of people come for dinner and stay for a few hours. And so we have a very, very active social life, and that makes a big difference. We get out. People do stare, and occasionally, particularly when we're at Carrie's, which is all of USD's favorite bar. People might actually sometimes think Larry's drunk, because he doesn't stand up quite straight and so forth. But other people offer encouragement and prayers. And it really is quite stunning sometimes to be sitting at lunch somewhere and somebody stops and really just for a moment recognizes what Larry's going through and says, you've got my prayers. The other thing we discovered makes an enormous difference is physical activity. And for many, many years we walked. We took long walks. Sometimes we walked for a week, right? You go somewhere and hiking trails, you just take off and walk for a week. Well, he can't do that anymore. And so we started cycling. And it's something we can do together. We actually did a good part of the Tour Dakota yesterday. It was really, really fun. And as it turns out, physical activity makes an enormous difference in Parkinson's disease. And we sort of discovered it by chance. And for Larry, it's meant a tremendous amount of independence. He doesn't have to ask for a ride anywhere. He gets on that cat trike, and he can get anywhere in town and many places outside of town as well. And it's fun. He always says, I don't have Parkinson's when I'm on the bike. Last year, the Journal of the American Medical Association published a little research piece by a neurologist in the Netherlands who was shocked to find out that many of his patients with advanced Parkinson's disease who had trouble walking were cycling to their medical appointments. And so now there's research going on. Why is it that people who can't walk can cycle? And we don't know the answer to that yet, but it's a pretty interesting question. It's probably some other kind of brain circuitry involved in cycling that's not involved in walking. Drugs are an important part of the regime. Larry takes over 20 pills a day. They're very, very carefully calibrated, and he has to take them exactly on time. We've got his phone alarm to do it, to remind him. But they have very limited efficacy. And a lot of side effects. And so what we've discovered is that better than pills is exercise. Exercise produces dramatic gains in function without side effects, which is really extraordinary. There is nothing like it. There was a study done in 2009, and it was a meta-analysis of 10 years of Parkinson's research on Parkinson's and exercise. And the studies showed that exercise increases or improves physical functioning, balance, speed of gait. In other words, it helps with slowness, health-related quality of life, and strength. That's pretty amazing. I mean, I can tell you that it's very difficult to find a drug that will do that without side effects. In animal models, it does appear that exercise has a protective effect. They've done some amazing monkey studies that you can actually Google on the web and find them. It seems to slow progression of the disease as well. There's nothing else out there that slows progression. A couple of months ago, there was a new study out. And previously, most of the studies said, you got to have a lot of very rapid aerobic activity. It's hard for people with Parkinson's. As it turns out, they did 50 minutes of walking 3 times a week and found improvements in the ability to take care of activities of daily living. Changes actually occur on a cellular level that change the availability of dopamine to the brain. Exercise does it. It's absolutely amazing. So who knew? Who knew? Well, not very many people do know. And so we decided to do this Ride with Larry project as a result. So the last week in June, this month, we and a band of merry friends and family members are taking off. We're going from Aberdeen to Vermillion. We're cycling. Larry's cycling on his cat trike. And on the way from Aberdeen to Vermillion, we're going to meet with Parkinson's support groups and cycling groups. One of the ideas is to sort of connect the two, right? I mean, just imagine if every cycling group adopted local Parkinson's patients and got them out cycling. It's pretty. It's a long-range goal. So we're actually having little get-togethers with cycling groups and Parkinson's groups wherever we're able. CatTrike donated a 3-wheeled recumbent bike, and we're encouraging everybody with Parkinson's disease in the state to meet us and try it. Just give it a try. And anyone who tries it gets a chance to win it at the end of the ride. So that's sort of our way of trying to get people, lots of people, to try it. Yeah, it's a beautiful bike. It's gorgeous. So best of all, there's a documentary film crew, filmmakers from California who are doing a film about the ride, a documentary film. And it's our hope in this way to spread the word even farther about the benefits of exercise in Parkinson's. Our dream is first that the medical community incorporates what we know about exercise in Parkinson's into care. Right now, most care for Parkinson's is very drug-oriented. I'd like to see just greater awareness in the medical community of what else can be done. I'd like to see every Parkinson's patient have access to safe exercise opportunities. And I'd like communities like Sioux Falls, like Vermillion, to be better educated about Parkinson's disease and to understand and recognize and support people with the disease. So I hope that those of you who listen to this talk are inspired by it, but also see it as a call to action. I think people with Parkinson's disease are really just like the rest of us, struggling to learn to live with it. Any of you who cycle, we're inviting you to join us on June 25th as we cycle from Sioux Falls to Vermillion as a group. And anybody who wants information, I can give it to you. Friends, offer encouragement and support. Lots of folks stop by, take Larry out to lunch, help with outdoor chores in the fall, drive him to medical appointments when I'm working. Even the kids in the schoolyard, as he drives by on his CatTrike in the morning when they're all out in the schoolyard, they all yell, "Hey, Mr. Smith, hi, Mr. Smith." So we kind of feel like we have this whole community of support behind us as we live, or try to live, our lives well and joyfully. But most importantly, if you know somebody with Parkinson's disease, please call them tonight and share Larry's story. You can pick it up on the web, and we really hope that his story helps other people to live better with this disease. So thank you.